Clown Killifish is a tiny wanderer of the West African coast. Its range spans 3 countries: Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia. They are most commonly found in densely vegetated forest streams, marshes and swamps, often in just an inch or 2 of water. And with that in mind, we're going to create an aquarium that closely resembles their natural habitat, whilst also keeping the aquarium visually appealing. Having traced their origins across the West African coast, we now turn our focus towards a more specific landscape: the iron-rich waters hidden deep in the Liberian Rainforest. This is a landscape dominated by laterite, a rusted red soil that bleeds into the riverbanks. To recreate this, I'm going to be using red lava rock to imitate the laterite stream banks. I've also added some brown rock to add more variation, and earthy tones adding to a more natural look. And here I am putting the centrepiece in place. As I was placing in the lava rock, it occurred to me that I didn't really need a filter, as I would be able to use the lava rock for beneficial bacteria. That's when I decided to add a small, gentle flowing waterfall. And I achieved the waterfall by simply using a low powered water pump. I connected tubing to the water pump and directed the flow up and over the centrepiece wood. It's important to add that a gentle flow is a must when keeping the clown killifish. There are fish that prefer calm, slow-moving waters. And it's always important to stick the pipe in place to avoid any problems later on down the line. Now that the plumbing is set, we can continue with the build. To recreate a Liberian creek, we need to recreate the weathered laterite effect of the stream banks. These pieces of red lava rock are our stand-in for the laterite. The goal here is verticality. In a 40cm cube, we don't have a great deal of space, so it's important to build upwards. And here I am placing in the rocks. The small pockets in the rocks would come in later when planting the plants. These crevices will act as perfect anchor points for the plants. Then finally, I use smaller rocks to hide the pump. It's important to stack these in a way that's easy to disassemble and reassemble. And to complete the hardscape, I'm using ochre coloured sand. This is the perfect colour as it adds realism and is a good match for the substrates found in these parts of Africa. And we'll see later just how naturally the fish blend into their surroundings. Before we move on to the planting, just check the water flow areas, and if the water's seeping through the gaps in the rocks, I just decided to fill it in with a little cotton wool and covered the cotton wool in substrate. This will allow the water to flow undisturbed. I almost forgot final details of the hardscape, and this is just a little extra crushed lava rock as I try to achieve the realistic stream bed feel. In the wild streams of Liberia, plants of all types surround the water. Some of these being rheophytes, which we're going to use to plant the aquarium. These plants don't need soil, instead they use creeping rhizomes to grip onto stone and fallen timber. This makes them perfect for this setup. To recreate this streamside habitat, I'll be using a couple of Liberian native plants. And at the summit, we'll start with Anubias gracilis. Its triangular leaves are built perfectly for the high humidity, and I'll be using a mist maker to provide the humidity. Below, Anubias afzelli bed in between land and water. Its long trailing leaves will hang into the shallow waters below. And at the bottom, I decided that the tank was a little bit bare. So although it's not native to Liberia, I added a small clump of Anubias barteri. And to complete the planting, I'm adding Biotope hoodaloti. As the plant beds in and grows, the textured fronds will provide perfect overhead cover for the clown killifish to feel secure. And just to add that extra bit of detail, I've added some Christmas moss. Ideally, I would have used a native African moss, but I was unable to find one. This moss will act as a biological sponge, wicking moisture from the waterfall and creating a damp nursery for the plants to follow. It turns our hardscape into a living, breathing riverbank. And before we add the fish, I'm adding a few final details to really add the realism. I'm adding almond leaves and twigs. These small details add an essential sense of organised chaos, turning a clean aquarium into a lived-in wild environment where our fish can feel truly at home. And just before we move on to adding the fish, I thought I would quickly cover the lights what I'm using, and these are only a few pounds each, and in my opinion are perfect for using on a low light aquarium, and in this instance perfectly simulate the dark low lit waters deep in the African rainforest. I will leave a link in the description for the lights, and as I said, only a few pounds. I can't remember exactly how much they were. And now for the final piece of the puzzle, the star of the show, the clown killifish. And now we can see the design come to life. The waterfall is gently trickling. And the killifish are naturally exploring their new home, exactly as they would in a Liberian creek. We've done more than build an aquarium. We've recreated a small fragment of the West African rainforest. In the fast-paced world of chaos, the iron stream remains a place of slow, deliberate beauty, somewhere to relax at the end of the day. This small killifish habitat is more than an aquarium, it's a miniature piece of the Upper Guinean rainforest. A reminder that even in the smallest of spaces, we can create our very own little pieces of nature. If you enjoyed this journey into the iron stream, consider subscribing to see how the tank evolves. As the moss weaves its way across the hardscape and the Anubias take hold, the iron stream will only get deeper, darker and more mysterious. And could we add more animals? Even with the 10 killifish, the tank can sometimes look a little empty. So I would like to add some native tank mates, but I am limited with the small space of the tank. If you have any ideas, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching.